Hello viewers, welcome to K Diagnostics, Dio here. Today we have a 2010 Chrysler Town and Country with a 3.8 liter. This vehicle came to us for a transmission service. This transmission is due for a fluid change. So in this video I'm going to show you how to drain and fill the transmission fluid on this vehicle. And while we do that, we also going to replace the transmission filter. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to raise up the vehicle so we can get access to the transmission. So I'm going to put this drain container down here before we undo the bolts for the transmission oil pan, so that the fluid that comes out of the transmission falls in the drain pan. Okay? So here is the transmission oil pan. This oil pan doesn't have a drain plug. So to get the fluid out of this transmission, we're gonna have to undo all the bolts around the oil pan so we can drop it to get the fluid out of the transmission. Okay, so I'm gonna undo all these bolts around the oil pan. Okay, and these bolts are 8mm bolts. So now let's remove these bolts. So now here comes our oil pan. I'm gonna lower it gently. So I'm gonna take this oil pan to the parts cleaner and clean it. Now before I take it to the parts cleaner, we have to look inside the oil pan and make sure we don't have any metal shavings in it. So we don't have metal shavings in the oil pan, so the oil pan looks good. I don't know if you can see, the oil pan looks good here. There are no metal shavings in it, so that's good. I'm gonna go clean the oil pan. I'm gonna leave you over here. We're gonna wait until fluid drains out of the filter, until it stops draining, and after that we're gonna remove the filter. So this is the transmission filter. The transmission filter has two bolts that hold it against the transmission. So there is this bolt over here and there's another one back here. And these two bolts are torque bolts. You're gonna need a T25 torque socket to remove these bolts. So now we're gonna pry the filter down. So we're gonna rock it back and forth gently. Just like that, gently until it comes down. So right there, here comes the filter. Man, this fluid doesn't look good. Alright, I have cleaned the transmission oil pan. So now we're gonna remove the transmission filter sleeve. There is a sleeve over here that we have to remove. So we're gonna tap the old sleeve out. Now you have to be careful as you tap this. I'm not tapping the body of the transmission, but I'm actually tapping on the sleeve. So here comes the filter sleeve. Okay, I had to destroy it to remove it. So we're gonna get this out of the way. Okay, so the sleeve bore looks good. You have to make sure you remove the sleeve carefully because you can damage the bore of the sleeve. So that's good. So now we're gonna clean the matting surface on the transmission over here. We're gonna clean this silicone up here. Now this oil pan doesn't have a gasket, so this oil pan is sealed by silicone. So we're gonna put silicone between the oil pan and the transmission. But before we do that, we have to make sure that this surface over here is cleaned. So now we're gonna install the transmission filter. Here is the new transmission filter. This is the part number. So I'm gonna get it out of the box. So here is our new transmission filter. Now before we install the filter, I'm gonna install this little sleeve first. So this sleeve is gonna go over here. We're gonna have to tap it up a little bit. Now I'm using this plastic handle to not damage the sleeve, okay? So we have to push it all the way until it's flush to the transmission. So that's good. So now we're gonna install the filter. So here comes our new filter. Now you have to make sure you push the filter into the sleeve all the way. Don't rely on the filter bolt to push the filter in, okay? So the filter is sitting. So now we're gonna put the bolt. Now we're gonna torque the transmission filter bolt. The torque spec for the transmission filter bolt is 45 inch-pound. Just like that. I hope you can hear the torque wrench click. So right there, this is torqued to 45 foot-pound. I mean inch-pound, I'm sorry, not foot-pound, inch-pound. If you torque this to 45 foot-pound, you're gonna break them. 45 inch-pound. I hope you can hear the torque wrench. So that's torqued. This is torqued. So now we're gonna put silicone on the oil pan before we install it. So here is our oil pan. I cleaned it. As you can see, it looks nice and clean. So we're gonna apply silicone over here. We're gonna put a thin layer of gasket maker here. All right, so this is good. So now let's take our oil pan to the transmission so we can install it. We're gonna install our oil pan. So just like that. I'm gonna start putting the bolts back on. Now I'm gonna torque all the oil pan bolts. The torque spec for the oil pan bolt is 110 inch-pound. So we're gonna torque all these bolts down to 110 inch-pound. So I'm gonna crisscross them. So I torqued this one already. I hope you can hear the torque wrench click. So now we're gonna torque this one down here, because we want to evenly torque the oil pan down. And then we're going to torque this one. All right, so I torqued all the bolts for the transmission oil pan. I'm gonna wipe down this excess silicone over here. We're gonna wipe that down. All right, so we're good to go down here. So now we're gonna lower the vehicle so we can put transmission fluid in the transmission. We're gonna remove this plug over here that goes on the filler tube. So this is the tube where we're gonna fill the transmission fluid from. So we're gonna put this plug over here. Now we're gonna use this funnel and put it over here on this tube. Okay. So now let's put fluid in the transmission. Here is the transmission fluid that we're gonna put in the transmission. This is OEM transmission fluid. Okay. When you do a drain and fill, you have to put 5.5 quarts in the transmission. So this is 4 gallons. So we're gonna put 5.5 quarts of transmission fluid in the transmission. So we put 5 quarts in the transmission. So now we're gonna put half a quart, because remember we have to put 5.5 quarts in it. All right, so that's half quart. I'm gonna keep this. So we're good to go. We put 5.5 quarts in the transmission. I'm gonna put the plug back on. So now I'm gonna go in the vehicle and start the engine. So now I'm gonna go through the gears. I'm gonna do a quick visual inspection around the transmission here under the hood to see if we have any leaks. So everything looks good. It's dry around the transmission, so we're good. Let me look underneath. So we don't have a transmission fluid leak, so that's good. All is well. So we're good to go. This is how you remove and replace a transmission filter and transmission fluid from a 2010 Chrysler Town and Country with a 3.8 liter. So this was a quick and easy one. I hope you liked the video. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumb down. But if you do, you gotta tell me why so we can make better videos in the future. If this is your first time here, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell so you can get notified every time I upload a new video. If you're already a subscriber coming back to watch this video, I appreciate you and I want to thank you. If you have any comments, questions, criticism, leave them in the comment box. Thanks for watching. See you next time.